Love is our true divine nature, and our heart serves as the intersection of the spiritual and physical, connecting our soul with our body as the conduit for anchoring our divinity onto the earth plane. Embodying our divinity is the key to our ascension and to manifesting our highest destiny in this life. The teachings of the heart are alchemy. Join spiritual mentor and channel Jennifer Spohr each week on a sacred journey to lift the veil to remembering your divinity and meet other beautiful souls who are living the path of the awakened heart. Hey everybody, welcome to the show. I'm really buzzy excited to share this guest with you today. We were just chatting before we hit record, and she just has so much, so many amazing gifts and just so much wisdom to share that I'm excited to have her here. Her name is Jenny Zakrzewski, and she is a psychic teacher, master channeler, and spiritual business mentor. Jenny's divine mission with Starseed Academy is to support awakening souls, both adults and children, actually, as we create the new Earth paradigm together. So, welcome, Jenny. I'm so grateful and just excited to have you here with us today.
Oh, same. Thank you so much for having me today, Jennifer.
Yeah, and I am really interested in your work, and especially the work that you're doing with children as well. But first, I'd love for you to share with us what's your origin story. Like, I know we have a lot of stories because we go through a lot of phases of evolution on our ascension path, but what would you say was the greatest catalyst for you that inspired you to this work?
Yeah, oh, you're right. We have so many different versions of ourselves, rebirths, awakenings, but I really have to bring it right back to my own childhood. So I was really experiencing an opening of my psychic gifts as a kid. So in particular, I had a lot of clairaudience, which is in your ear chakras, which is actually above your physical ears. On either side, you have these ear chakras that are like a burgundy color. They don't get talked about a lot, but they're there. And this is your center for clairaudience. And that means like clear hearing, hearing beyond the world that you're in. And so I was experiencing hearing, for instance, hearing my angels talking to me, my spirit guides talking to me. I would go to bed at night and I would hear music that nobody else could hear. I was like a little antenna just tuning into like a radio station, tuning into other channels. Like, so that's the other worlds or the other dimensions. And so that's kind of where it started for me. And then it got a lot bigger and it became like fully understanding that I was communicating with spiritual beings. And the problem was that I was in a home that was extremely religious, and all of this was deemed like evil, in quotations, right? And so that made it really difficult for me as a child to embrace who I really was, allow my gifts to come through, to feel safe, and to feel like, and to understand that this is a beautiful and natural part of who I was and a divine gift and not a bad thing, not a curse, not anything like that. But because of the very strong, religious programming and having parents that really just didn't understand any of this, and were really the particular religion was, it was a lot of fear frequency, a lot of fear frequency. And so there was so much fear around it all. And I ended up just feeling so afraid through many like big experiences that happened where I was, shown by, the elders of our congregation and my own mother and stuff that this was just all evil. And so I had to bury it for a while. And I do see star seeds having origin stories like this where they felt really wide open as a child to their gifts, and then they go through, they close it down. And then something happens in their early adulthood where it opens up again. And so for me, the reopening of that was someone handed me the book, The Secret. This was a long time ago. This was like 2007 or something. And at the time, the book The Secret was mind blowing. And I know for us now, it's kind of like basics of LOA, law of attraction. But at the time, my mind was blown. And I was like, if I am the creator of my own reality, which is making sense to me what this book is telling me, then let me just do this differently because I'm not happy in so many areas. And so that book really helped me to set myself free of a lot of programming. I left the religion, I left a toxic relationship, I moved, I did all these big things. And that was the beginning for me of freedom. And I started talking to my guides again and allowing these gifts to open up again. And so, you know, as a weird little psychic starseed kid, I see in myself, I see what these children that I work with, I see myself in them and I see the things that they're struggling with. You know, there are a lot of very specific things that, you know, you could recognize a starseed, a little awakening soul with. And if I had only known that, or if my parents had only known that, how much easier and less traumatic things could have been. And so that really is what has inspired my work with kids so much.
I love that so much. And I also relate with so many components of the story that you share about your childhood, right? Like my grandparents, my mom's parents in particular were very religious. And I used to go to, you know, Sunday school and taught that all of these things, you know, were bad or evil. And religion also teaches us a lot that there's only one way, right, to do something. And so I really relate a lot to what you said, and also in the shutting down of our gifts, and that's what happens, right? Because I mean, I really can't honestly put into words like how deeply embedded the societal and ancestral programming is within us, right? To conform, to do things a certain way, which goes against the very nature of, you know, how we're designed and how we're wired. So I know so many of our listeners can relate to that as well. I'd love for you to share with us more about the work that you're doing with kids. And I mean, it is something that is not, you know, out in the world. I don't think, you know, nearly enough. And I was, you know, speaking to you before we hit record, and that I'm so curious about your work with this because, you know, kids, their brains are still developing, right? And they're also experiencing a lot of firsts. And this topic really excites me because I think about, you know, in all the work that I do with clients as well, in, you know, how much work are we doing around our inner child, right? In terms of unhealed trauma and like, you know, really changing even at a cellular level some of these experiences. So I'll quit, you know, chatting and going off on a tangent now and let you share with us.
It's so true though, like really it's all about healing the childhood, most of our adulthood for some of
Yeah,
us.
yeah.
It's a great mission, and it takes many many years, sometimes decades. And so if we had a parent that could be more open to this or more understanding of this, I feel like that could really smooth the whole childhood teenage process, which is such a hard time. So I have something that I can share. I would love to share 7 different signs that you have an awakened kid in your home, but I want the people listening to remember that these might describe you too.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you
Yeah.
as the parent, or maybe you're remembering yourself as the child in whatever way, just remember that this could definitely also describe yourself. So the first one really, really hits home for me as a kid and still. The first sign is that they have digestive issues, food sensitivities, and or autoimmune disorders, because these awakened kids coming through are so pure and their frequency is really high, but it's really delicate. And most food on earth is this really heavy density. It's more like chemicals, and they just really struggle to integrate it. And the same goes for like the medicine here. It's a lot of chemicals and it's really harsh in frequency. And so these children really struggle to digest food. They have a lot of food allergies, food sensitivities, stomach aches all the time, headaches, and those kinds of things. And so that is, I always put that as my number one, because you'd be surprised at how many people are like, oh my God, that's my child, or oh my God, that was me as a kid. I was allergic to everything. So I don't know, maybe that also hits home for you, Jennifer.
Yeah, I wasn't allergic to anything actually when I was a child that I remember, but the digestive issues that you talk about, yeah, I had lots of stomach issues, lots of digestive issues, and I, as far back as I can remember, have always been really very sensitive energetically. So I feel like looking back on it now, a lot of those digestive issues and stomach aches were due to suppressing, right? Like stored energy, making all these observations, like picking up on all of these other entities, beings, energies around me and not sharing it with anyone, right? So
Mhm.
yeah, I can relate to that for sure.
Yeah, like the stomach is almost like the weak spot where everything gets felt. And in particular, not being able to really break down what we call food on Earth, a lot of it.
Yeah.
So that's the number one sign. Okay, so then the number two one would be that these kids are having vivid dreams of flying, of other worlds, and conversations with people that feel familiar. And so it's normal for an awakened soul to astral travel at night, whether you're a child or an adult. Our souls don't need rest and sleep like that. Our bodies do. And then our souls generally go off and do these, missions and adventures and all these things. So the soul goes on these missions to other realms, goes to check in with their guides, gets guidance, gets healing. And it feels so real for these kids because it is real and it is really happening. And they're very connected to their dream state. And so something that parents can do is definitely ask their kids, they might not even think to ask them, like, what have you been dreaming about the last few nights? What do your dreams feel like? Are you talking to anybody in your dreams? Do you ever fly in your dreams? And ask them some of these leading questions to see really what's going on with them astrally, which is a huge clue that you've got an awakened kid as well. Okay. And then the third sign here is that they are beyond compassionate. They feel everything and they naturally can put themselves in other people's shoes to understand them without really even having to try. This goes for people, other children, animals, and even nature. They can feel the pain of nature. They can feel, when a tree is sick. They can feel pain when they see trees being cut down, all of that. Their heart just breaks when people hurt each other, treat animals poorly, or harm the environment. And so I know, again, for me, I was such an animal lover. I still am, and I've been a vegetarian forever. And yeah, I think a lot of awakening kids have a special connection with the animal kingdom.
Yeah, I relate a lot to what you're saying too. I mean, I love animals and also really feeling the presence of the earth and the trees and the land. Yeah, and then just the sheer feeling of overwhelm because you are like picking up on other people's stuff. And especially, I mean, for adults, that's a big challenge too, I believe. When you're just so sensitive like that, is learning how to discern between picking up on that energy and not actually taking it all in, and physically feeling it, which can be just so hard on our bodies.
Yes, absolutely. And that's something that I really do help the kids in my mentorship with is learning how to shield themselves with light, learning how to clear and then
Yeah.
shield, which is something that we should be doing as adults, but also needing to teach children because of that overwhelm for sure. That's actually one of the signs pop that'll be coming up. So the fourth sign is that these awakened kids are natural born channelers. If you ask them these like very emotionally mature questions or spiritual questions, they will answer with this profound simplicity that cuts through a lot of our own programming. And they also question things that others accept blindly, like the way things are done in school or family or jobs or the world, especially if it feels off to them, like it feels unfair in some way, like a competition at school all the time. Why can't everybody win? Or why do you have to go to a job that you don't like, mommy? And like just different things like that, that they would just question, why is the world this way? Okay, and then the fifth sign here is that they believe there is a greater purpose to their life. This can happen even at a very young age, that they feel like they're here on this planet with a mission, and they might talk about creating things, fixing things, helping people, or even changing the world. And they see this new world on the horizon. Now, that was something that I did a lot as a kid. I remember saying to the adults in my life, like, I'm here to change the world. I'm here to help people. I'm here to make a big difference. And you hear a little kid say that, and you're like, "Oh, sweetie, that's so nice and that's so cute." And I
Yeah.
remember being like, "No, I'm serious. Like, I
Yeah.
really
You're like,
and
listen
that
to me.
feeling stayed with me. Yeah, that feeling stayed with me, into adulthood. That's a huge sign of a starseed is this talk of, I feel like I'm here for a purpose. I feel like I have a mission. And not all humans feel that way. Not all children or adults. It's this select few of this specific to starseeds where they really feel like I'm on this planet for a reason. Let's get it done. And so that's like a really big sign. Okay, and then here's the one that you mentioned already. Number 6 is being noticeably overwhelmed or drained by large crowds and busy locations. They are highly sensitive empaths, awakening children. They soak up energy just like a sponge, and they can become overwhelmed by too many different energies entering into their auric field. This can make them grumpy, exhausted, or even sick. And so here's where what you were talking about, it's really important for them to not take on stuff that isn't theirs and to learn that energetic hygiene, spiritual hygiene at a young age. We can teach them how to clear themselves with light coming down through the top of their head with their eyes closed. They can just visualize. It helps to put the hands over the heart, visualize this light coming down. Or they can use, I teach my kids that I mentor how to use their palm chakras, like to rub their palms together and to visualize light pouring out of their hands. And then they use their hands to clear themselves as well. And that's all just so helpful to learn these basics at such a young age. And then the last sign here, number 7, that you have an awakened child in your home is that they have night terrors. They are extremely afraid of the dark, and they may be afraid or uncomfortable in certain places in your home. So awakened children are such pure, bright lights with no boundaries. It's very common for them to be noticed by or even harassed by earthbound spirits, which is like what ghosts are, a soul that doesn't cross over. And they are most vulnerable when they go to sleep at night. So if you have a child that's afraid of the dark, ask them why. If there's a particular hallway or room in the home that they feel really uncomfortable with, ask them why. And their key words would be that they feel like there's a shadow being in there or there's something watching them. But you have to believe them when they say that to you. There's a reason that they feel that way. It's not just a kid being a kid. A lot of the time it is something deeper to look into. And that's where it's up to the parent to take the responsibility to clear your home, right?
Yeah. Something else I'd love to get your thoughts around is, even as adults, right, there can be so much of this element of uncertainty as you're continuing to evolve and become more and more awake on your path. And I'd love to know like more about who are the parents that are approaching you to work with their kids. I can just imagine that with adults themselves feeling uncertain, like what's their confidence level in in bringing, their children forward to you to work with them? Because I would imagine like as they're doing this, right? It's like the parents are also learning too
Oh, definitely.
at the
Oh,
same
definitely.
time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
parents are so welcome to join in on the sessions as well, though many feel like their kids will be more open and free to speak with me if they're not there. So usually they set
Right.
their little kid down with me on Zoom and then they just go into another room so they can listen, but the kid feels like they have some privacy as well. And then
Yeah.
I always save 10-15 minutes at the end to chat with the parent at the end about what just happened in the session so that they're up to date. But the parents that are coming to me are the ones that are already experiencing the beginnings of their own spiritual awakening.
Hmm.
And as they're going through the spiritual awakening, they get over that really tumultuous beginning section of it. And they start to really question, like, wait, why am I here? And I'm having these gifts pop up. And what is my purpose? And then they're looking at this child and they're like, well, how am I supposed to guide them? Like, how do they fit into all
Yeah.
of this? And what the parents are realizing is that their spiritual awakening isn't just about them anymore. If you're a parent and you have children and you're going through a spiritual awakening, it's no longer your own. It's like a family affair at this point because you're bringing such a powerful frequency into your home when you go through a spiritual awakening. It's going to affect your partner, your children, even your pets, like everything. You can't not affect them. And so the parents that when you ask who's coming to me, it's the ones that know what a spiritual awakening is
Hmm.
and that feel like it's happening to them and now they want help on how can they guide their child and make sure that their child is safe. Many times they come to me when something is unfortunately wrong, like okay, well I feel like they're having nightmare after nightmare, I'm afraid they have an attachment, or they keep talking about their past lives, or they're going to school and getting bullied because they're so different and they have all these gifts. All of that I can relate to as a child myself that went through all of those things. And it just really makes me feel so grateful and fulfilled that I'm in this place where I can help.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you work with families as well as a collective unit?
Yes, I also offer
Mm.
family sessions, family alignment sessions where a lot of the time it's me with the parents and they're talking about the child, so we don't usually have the child there. But it's very helpful for them to get the answers about what's going on with them and their partner and their relationship, plus what's going on with our children. And so these are one-off 60-minute sessions that I do to just help people get back on track.
So beyond work, so going back to the children again, beyond working with you or in addition to working with you, how can a parent nurture their child in the highest aligned way to continue really opening those gifts and then also them feeling confident in sharing who they really are?
Yeah, perfect question for this. So I would say there's a couple of ways. The one way that I would say is really important is communication. You don't want to assume that your child is not experiencing big things just because they haven't talked about it. I didn't share a lot of what I was going through as a child with anyone. And so you need to open the door as the parent by getting really curious and asking them about their dreams. If they
Mhm.
ever see or feel anything that's not there, do they think that they existed before this life? I also have like a whole list of questions that I give to parents to ask their children. If anybody's looking for that, you can come and find me over on Instagram. It's at Starseed Academy with the little blue check, and I would be happy to share that list of questions with you. But be prepared to have your mind blown because if you're willing to ask the questions to your children, you're gonna like it's just gonna
Yeah.
be so surprising because we don't think of these things to ask them. You know, like, do you have any imaginary friends? And how do they talk to you? And what do they look like? And are they supportive of you? Have they ever been mean to you? And you find out a lot about what's going on with them and what is connected with them. And there's just so many questions. So that's the communication piece. The second piece is really teaching your children to connect with the light. This is clearing, healing, protection, and it also helps with mental health with children that have ADHD, anxiety, fears. Connecting with the light is such a simple exercise that you can teach your children to visualize, like we said earlier, that light coming down through the top of their head. Have them close their eyes, place their hands over their heart, take a couple of deep breaths, and then visualize like a big waterfall of light rushing through them. And I also, like I said, I've taught children to use their hands to
Yeah.
pour light out their hands as well. With that, you can put the light into your own body, or they can push away things that are bothering them with light coming out of their hands. And then the other way to nurture and strengthen their gifts would be teaching them about the clairs. They're never too young for this, and I have proof of this in the children that I mentor. So the clairs are where all spiritual gifts come from. They're all rooted in the clairs, and it's never too early for them to learn and practice. So that's clairvoyance, which is seeing with your mind's eye, clairaudience, which is hearing with your mind's ear, claircognizance, which is where you're receiving like downloads from spirit, ideas and thoughts, and then clairsentience, which these kids are already doing, is feeling energy. And so this is where you can teach them to use for clairsentience, teach them to use those palm chakras to scan and send healing to pets, other people, trees. Like it's such a cute thing to have them doing it with their pets or trees, where they're taking their little hands and they're placing them on the tree and feeling
Yes.
what do you feel? Do you feel happiness coming from the tree or sadness? Do you feel this? And you can ask some leading questions. Okay, now it's time to give the tree a gift, and we send in rainbow light. For clairvoyance, which is the seeing, you could ask them to tune into the energy around them with their eyes closed. Do they see any
Mhm.
angels? Do they see any spirit guides? And remember that the doorway to clairvoyance is their imagination. So it's okay if they're using their imagination. That's
Yeah.
how they open their third eye.
That's how we
And then,
create. That's a vehicle for us to
yes,
create. Yeah, absolutely.
exactly. And
Yep.
then for clairaudience, you can have them praying to God source and have them come up with their own name for God source because that's a title. You give it a cute nickname. Like so one of my little girls calls God source Bobo, and like just a cute little nickname where it makes it feel like a real special relationship between a grandparent
Yeah.
and a grandchild, and have them learn how to pray, learn how to chat away with their spirit guides during the day out loud, like talking out loud, and learning to get quiet enough in their mind to actually hear what's being said back. What's the reply? So if you say something and you send it out like a thought, what thought comes back to you? And then they learn how to speak to spirit and communicate with spirit through telepathy, which is beautiful. And then one of the biggest ones that I can't leave out is something you just mentioned again. You're always one step ahead, is teach them that they are the ones that are creating their life. That
Yes.
is so empowering.
Yes.
This is a huge bonus. Imagine your own childhood. If you had have been taught about frequency, manifestation, you'd be worlds ahead. Like it would just be, you'd be so careful about your moods and how you treated others, and it would just be a whole different world. So that is something that we really don't want to leave out.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, imagine what our world can be like. I mean, we are moving in that direction, and it's so amazing to be here in a human body at this time, right? Awake and being witness to that, bearing witness to that, and also having the opportunity to contribute. It's just a huge blessing. Do you offer, so do you work with both adults and kids in private and group programs?
So I do for adults have group programs. But at this point, I'm doing only private mentorship with kids because, like you said, this is a very new on the market thing. And
Yeah,
it's like right now, I do feel like it's few and far between parents that are ready to even go down this route with their children and accept that their child is having a spiritual awakening and has psychic gifts and all of this. And so my mentorships are private because there's not enough yet for us to create like a large enough group where it would be like the kids can feed off of each other and we could find a time zone that worked for everybody. So right now, because it's a little bit less popular, and I think that that's sad, but I think that that's where we're headed. You know, like this is, I mean, how do we create new earth? It's the children. The
yeah,
children are going to be new earth. They're the citizens, they're the new earth leaders. That it's them, and we need to teach all of this to them now, and really set them up to be these fair, filled with equality and fairness and justice and oneness and these powerhouses of gifts and manifestation. So
yeah,
we're getting there. But for now, if somebody's wanting to work with me, I mean, I'm happy to work with parents and children one to one. And then if it's an adult listening and they're like, oh my God, that is all resonating with me, I have
yeah.
lots for adults, memberships, courses, all kinds of stuff.
So awesome. And I know that we're going to have the links to all the things for the listeners to access to in the show notes as well. Jenny, I would love for you to share with us, just in this now moment, anything else that you're feeling guided to bring forward.
Okay. So, what I really want to share is for anybody listening that you are you are being divinely orchestrated by your own higher self, guides, God source, whatever terms you like for these forces. You are truly being divinely orchestrated and divinely timed. So I just felt like when I tuned into your listeners that there were people in this fear frequency, like a pit in the stomach of, oh my God, it's too late for me. I should be further ahead. I must not be on track. It's gone too far. It's never too late. It's never too late to come back to yourself. And so, every single awakening soul on this planet has a purpose for being here. And it is rooted in you using your own soul gifts in service, right? We use our
Yeah,
gifts in service.
yeah,
And that is what unlocks your highest timeline, your highest earth experience. That's how you become your highest self, using your soul gifts in service. And so this is the two main pillars of Starseed Academy. I teach people how to master their gifts, discover and master your soul gifts, and that's psychic light. And then I teach them how to build their empire. So once you have your gifts mastered, it's time to offer these services
yes,
to humanity. Like now let's build your empire, let's build your beautiful business. And I have something that's coming out in August called the Starseed Business Academy. And this is for people that are just getting started and wanting to really build that business and make stable income so that they can let go of the 9 to 5, because that is straight up programming. The 9 to 5, I feel like that's just slave programming built to keep people busy. Right. And when we unplug from the 9 to 5 programming, we set ourselves free emotionally, spiritually, time wise, financially free. You can make so much more doing your own thing, following your passion. because when you follow your passion and you use your gifts in service, the whole universe rushes in to support you. All
Yes.
of the support of the divine will show up for you. It's very different than being in a 9 to 5.
Yeah, absolutely. So awesome. You're such a gift. I mean, I could just keep talking to you forever, and I just really love your mission and who you are and just what you're doing here. So for those who want to connect more deeply with you, whether it's for them, for their children, for their family, where's the best place for them to go?
So Instagram, I'm on there daily. So come over to Instagram, Starseed Academy with the blue check. If you want to vet me a little bit and get to know me, then go to my YouTube channel because there are hundreds, so much value, hundreds of videos, so much value on YouTube. I mean, just start watching videos and you'll see just how real I keep it. Super down to earth, super authentic. I know that a lot of people in a spiritual community can be very like woo woo and up in the clouds and not realistic about things. And that's just not the case with me. I really pride myself on keeping things grounded and as simple as possible. So check out YouTube to get to know me a little bit more and see if I'm the right person that you want to work with. But come over to Instagram to actually chat.
That sounds amazing. And again, for those listening, we'll also have the links in the show notes for easy access to connect with Jenny. Jenny, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation today and just for sharing all the amazing aspects about you and the work that you're doing here.
Thank you so much for having me and giving me this opportunity.
Thank you for listening to Path of the Awakened Heart. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or pathoftheawakenedheart.com so you never miss an episode. To learn more about living with an awakened heart and navigating your ascension journey, visit me at jenniferspore.com.